Hey everyone, this is Nye here. So today what we are going to do, we are going to assemble our Hanging Witch Clothes Halloween card. Now, I'm going to be using my art glitter glue here for all of my gluing. And as you can see, I've got everything lined up and stacked in the order for gluing. I've got my envelope here underneath, and then I've got my card base. And we're going to start with the card base first. I'm just going to pull the envelope away. We'll get back to that towards the end. I've got a paper towel here as well, just in case I need it with all of my gluing here. All right, so I've got all of the front part here of my card lined up and kind of stacked in the order that I want for gluing. When you are cutting this one and you're pulling it off your mat, you're going to notice that there are some smaller pieces. What we've got here are the dots to the front of the witch's dress. Those are really tiny pieces, as well as the buckles here for her shoe. So before we even really dig into anything, I'm going to glue those down first. So I've got my tweezers here as well. And what I'm going to do is just add a dab, a little tiny dab of glue here to the back. And it's okay. It's like for a second, I thought my glue was going to be clogged there. So I added just a tiny bit. I'm going to use my finger to press it down the paper. And then I'm just going to press down that buckle there. And you can see like the glue that was underneath, there was obviously too much and it started to seep through. That's going to be kind of normal there because it's such a small piece. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing now for the other buckle. And I don't have the best hold on it here with the tweezers. So I'm going to try and grab it again. Okay. All right, and again, I'm really having to press here with my glue, which means that I think it's gonna clog on me. All right, so again, I'm gonna hold this down and then just press that down there and then kind of press it right there, okay? All right, so the next part that we're going to do is I'm gonna take my push pin here. This is the one that I used to clog my glue. You could also use a regular ball push pin if you want, if that's easier for you to hold. I'm just going to use this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these 3 dots and just kind of put them out of the way for a moment. And I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to wipe it first, just to kind of make sure that everything is okay here. And let me just do this too. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead, hold it down with my finger, and I'm just going to add a dab of glue in 3 places where I want my dots to her dress to go. So I'm just going to add 3 little dots there. And then I'm going to use my push pin and I'm going to pick up by just pressing down on the paper those little dots there. And I'm going to press them right down on top of the glue that I just added. And that will be it for like the tiny pieces that will be difficult for us to work with. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this part away. This is going to be the base of my card. And what I'm going to do, or what I'm going to show you here is you can see my score line that's going right across, and this is the wording that goes on the inside. So what we want to do is fold the top part here of the card like this, so that way when we open it up, we have the inside part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually fold both ways. So I'm going to fold here on my score line. So I folded it incorrectly, so it's like this. And then I'm going to fold it back. And now when I fold it back this time, I'm going to grab my bone folder and I'm going to press it down just to make sure that the crease of that score line is perfect. Okay. And so what we can see now is this will be the front of the card. And then when I flip it up, there will be my inside greeting and I can add any sentiment that I want as well as my signature. All right. So what we're ready to do now is add the top part here of our card to the front. Okay. So what I did was I opened it back up and I pressed it down, and I'm going to add the top part here of the card to the opposite side of the card. So hopefully that makes sense. So if I flip it over this way, you can see that my wording is there and I'm adding it to this side. All right, just want to kind of hammer that in there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take our decorative sheet. I dropped my glue. We're going to take our decorative sheet that really can be any Halloween themed paper that you have in your stash or that you like. And we're going to add a little bit of glue now to the back. You don't have to go crazy with it. You really just want to make sure that you're getting at least around the edges and a little bit here in the center. Okay. And then what we're going to do is now we're just going to kind of eyeball how we want this to go inside that square. Okay. And once you have it where you like, then just kind of press it down. And then we're going to lift up the clothing. Hopefully I didn't go out of my camera. Let's bring this down a little bit more. We're going to lift up the clothing there. We don't have to worry about anything kind of shifting because we glued all of the tiny pieces down. And we're going to add the second part, which is kind of like our insert. So we're really just going for a little bit of layering with the card, as well as just adding a little bit more fun to it. So it's not just a white card that we're sending to someone. All right. And so what we're going to do now is I'm going to hold it this way just for a second because I want to make sure that it's not totally off. All right, that looks good. What we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing again and just add a little bit of glue now to the back of this insert piece. And this is where, if you want, you could just use solid colors for all of this. You don't have to use any pattern cardstock, but you could use solid if you want. All right, so I'm going to have to hold it up so I can see it a little bit better, which will make it a little difficult for you guys, but that looks pretty good. I'm gonna just shift it down here a little bit. And remember, when you're gluing something like this, you've got about 10 seconds before the glue completely dries on you, and then you're stuck with it. All right, so you've got to work quickly. All right, so now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put this off for a second. We still have our wording at the bottom that we're gonna add, and I'm going to glue the 3 pieces here of her clothesline together. So I'm gonna put the white piece down because that's gonna go at the back. And I'm gonna hold on to this orange piece first. And I'm gonna get a better grip on it here. All right, and so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add glue all over here. And this is gonna be one where you don't wanna add a lot of glue, but you are going to need to add glue to every piece here. So take your time, but at the same time work kind of quickly because you don't want the glue to dry on you because you're not adding a lot. And just go all the way around. So I'm almost there. And I thought this was just a fun little one for us because it's not something that we kind of see or think about all the time with Halloween. All right. So I've got that there, and I'm going to grab it and hold it this way now. Okay. This is where you can use your tweezers if you find that it's easy to hold on to it. I like to use my fingers sometimes because I feel like I can get a better grip with everything. So I'm holding it here at the center, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up this center first. And this is where, again, you've got to work pretty quickly as you glue everything down because you're going to need to push the paper over and make sure that everything is lining up just right before the glue completely dries on you. All right, I almost bent that one, and without bending the paper too, because that's kind of tricky there. Okay, so once you have the first one, it'll be a little easier to work with because it'll add a little bit of thickness to it. And then we're going to do the same thing now with the black. That is the top. All right, so I'm going to, again, just kind of hold it right here. And you want to make sure that you're working your way from the top down, because as you can see, this top piece here has little holes in it to show the ones underneath. And you don't want to add glue to the cardstock underneath because then you might miss where the holes are, okay? So same thing as before, just kind of take your time adding the glue everywhere, but at the same time working really quickly because it's going to dry and you don't want it to dry on you before you get a chance to press it down here. And so the dress is obviously the biggest piece, so it's a little easier to work with and faster there. But you can still go pretty quickly. Okay, so we're almost done. And seriously, the longest part will be adding the glue. Okay. That's a little hard. Sometimes you wish like you had just one more hand to hold stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna flip this and grab it from the side. And then again, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna line it up here with her dress first because that's the biggest piece. And then I'm going to press everything else down and then just kind of shifting things over to make sure that everything is lining up correctly. Okay, it's perfect. I love it. Okay, so once you have it glued together, then you're ready to kind of layer it down on your card. Now, before you glue that part down, what you want to do is grab the wording. And so again, we want to do this part first because we want to make sure that we have enough room at the bottom. So I've got the wording sheet first here, and I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the back, and then I'm going to press it down and line it up kind of in the center of this back piece here. And you can eyeball that. I'm just eyeballing mine. It doesn't have to be like measured correctly or anything. You just kind of want it to look somewhat uniform all throughout. And this again is where you could change the background here and use any kind of themed cardstock that you want. It would go really well. And then we're just going to add some glue now to the back of this. And then we're going to press this down. And we're going to add it to the corner here, but you don't want to like place it right at the edge. You want to make sure, well, that you go over a little bit and that you have room, okay? So I had a little bit of glue there, so I'm going to take my paper towel and just wipe this here at the edge. That way it doesn't leave a stain or anything, but it will dry clear, so it won't be a problem. All right, and so now we're ready to add the clothesline here. So I'm going to make mine go up a little close to the top. You don't want it to be all the way at the top. You don't want it to be off. You still kind of want it to be on top of your insert, but you also don't want it to be right at the bottom where it's touching either. So you just kind of, again, just want to have an eyeball and a general placing of where you want it to go. All right, so once you have that, then you can go ahead and add glue to the back of the clothesline. And again, this is a tedious one, but you also want to make sure that you're adding the glue to each item of clothing that's on the line here, and that you're getting it to every side because you don't want any part of it to come up at all. You want the entire thing to be glued down and to lay down on the card. Okay, so the last part here is the kitty. And again, I'm going to tilt mine up here to the side. So kind of have an idea of where you wanted it to go. And I'm going to move it over just a little here. And there we go. And once you have it, then just press it completely down. All right. That's awesome. I love it. Okay. And so once you have it, doesn't it look great? And you know, if you wanted to, you could actually use a different color cardstock for the base of the card. You just want to make sure that whatever pen you're using actually shows up on it, because that won't be fine then. Okay. All right. So let's do our envelope. So what we have here is the envelope. We have all of our score lines. And what we're going to do is just fold on those score lines and press down with our bone folder here. All right. And then let's go this way. I'm going to do it that way, and then just come back this way, and then let's get the top. Okay. And then once you have it, all you're going to do is just add a little dab of glue right here to this side and here to the opposite side here. And then we're just going to press it up and press it down. And then you'll be able to add your card by just sliding it right inside. You can seal it with any kind of glue that you want, and then you can address it and mail it, okay? So I hope you guys enjoyed this craft. I would love to see how yours turns out. Please come send me a picture, and I hope you have fun crafting. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video, okay? Thanks again, and bye.